Good day, fellow champions of inclusion. I am Aaron, and this is the Inclusive Dad podcast, where we explore inclusion and make it practical. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me in exploring ways we can create a more inclusive world together. You are important, you matter, and you can make a difference. Today, my guest is Jebeh Edmunds. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Aaron.
Yeah,
Aaron.
it's all good. Why don't you just start us off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I am the founder and CEO of Jebeh Cultural Consulting, and that business is leading major organizations and non-for-profits and school districts on how to be more inclusive in the workplace and in the classroom.
Yeah, and before we started recording, you live in northern Minnesota. I live in southern Minnesota, so we're both bracing for snow probably.
Yes, yes, it's coming. Winter is coming.
It is coming in. Why don't we just start off with what is your definition of inclusion?
My definition of inclusion is including everybody, no matter their identity and what they carry. To me, that is bringing everybody to the table without even questioning who they are and if they're worthy to be at that table.
Yeah, that's great. When you're giving your definition, you use the words no matter what they are carrying. Do you want to maybe explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, there are people with invisible disabilities, there are people with identities that they don't feel comfortable in sharing.
Hmm.
And so to me, it's not a burden, but it's something that they also carry with them at
Sure.
that table. So, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. How did you get into this work?
I got into this work being a Liberian American immigrant. I immigrated with my parents at a young age, and just seeing how people were discriminatory towards our family. You know, we grew up in the suburbs of the Twin Cities, and just always wanting to showcase and disrupt and dismantle stereotypes of what it was being an African immigrant. And that just was something infused in me by my parents and seeing how they carried themselves in our society as working families, proud of their heritage, and instilling that in my sisters as well. So, yeah, just when I went into the professional career world, I started as a journalist. I was a producer at a local news station up here, up north, and then as a classroom teacher for 18 years. So, bringing my skills of inclusion and cultural competency and being culturally responsive really set my classroom apart from the others. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. What made you take the leap from being a TV producer to an educator?
You know, it always was in my heart. My parents are both teachers in
Okay.
Minneapolis and, in academia. So for me, it was just always in me. I would play school as a kid, and, writing TV scripts was fun. But then it got to the point, it's like, am I making an impact? Did people know that I wrote that script? No, they're
Yeah.
seeing the anchor reading it. And so I went back to school. I had a really great principal mentor that said, "You should go back and be a classroom teacher." And my mom was like, "Yep, I knew you would be a teacher too, like me." And
Yeah.
yeah, so I taught first grade and she taught first grade for over 30 years. So growing up watching her teach was just something that I loved. And it was great to see students impacted and learning how to read. I got so excited to see them figure things out on their own when I taught fifth grade too. And it was a joy. It was a really great experience. And so for me, from teaching to entrepreneurship full time, I felt like I needed to inspire and impact more than just my classroom of students
Mm.
and their families. I needed to impact the world. And that's when I started my business 5 years ago. Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe you just talked about it a little bit, but how did your journey evolve from educator to author and podcast host? That part. part of it.
I know. I'm just doing all kinds of things, Aaron. I cannot sit still. Yeah. So from entrepreneur, I had this story, the orange blossom, on my Google Doc 10 years ago. I wrote 33 pages of it, and just life and raising two children and my husband, and it happened. So it was just kind of in the back burner. But this year, I just made it a point. It was on my vision board to complete this
Mhm.
book, and I did within 5 months. And
Wow.
I had a wonderful publisher, Hazy May Publishing, that signed me, and it's now on the shelves, in October. So less than a year. So yeah, I did that, and it was a great accomplishment for me to prove to myself my 10-year dream came to
Hmm.
fruition. And having my own podcast, I started that 5 years ago with the business of, bringing more inclusive people onto my podcast to share their books that they created, to share their workplace strategies, again, just impacting the world versus in my town or in my classroom. So yeah, it's a great vehicle to share positive change with others. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
What's the book about?
The book, The Orange Blossom, I've got a copy right here. It's for our grown folks to read.
Yeah.
It's a soap opera, and it's about Jovia Collins. She comes from this upper echelon Liberian family, and they emigrated during a horrible coup, and she's living life in the Midwest as the only Black girl in her class. And there's family secrets and family drama that starts to bubble up to the surface, and so she has to figure out her new identity and trying to live this life of what she knows now. So there's a lot of good plot twists. I got that inspiration from watching Young and the Restless with my grandma when she emigrated here.
Sure. Yep.
She loved Victor Newman. And so it kind of is a play on that, and just some entertaining for people who love. It's a good book club book, lots of good, drama filled stuff. And it's nice and short and sweet. I like a good short read where I can sit
Okay.
down and get it done in like a day and be like, oh, I finished a book, So
Yeah, there you go.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes you look at a novel and you're like, oh, this is going to take me forever. So yeah, nice, short, and sweet.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. What's been the reception of your book so far?
Very great reception. We just got number one on Amazon's hot new
Oh,
releases for immigration fiction. So that
oh,
was huge.
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. We just got the accolade yesterday. So it's been warmly received. Lots of great peers that have read it twice and are
Mhm.
telling folks to get the book. So yeah, you can get on Amazon and on my website if you want a signed copy. So
Yeah,
excited. Yeah.
that's awesome. You
Thank you
think you're
so
going to write
much.
more books then, or
Oh, yes,
is it-
this is the
yeah?
beginning of a series. I want a whole garden of secrets, Aaron. I just want
There you
more.
go.
Yes, I had so
That's
much fun
great.
writing this book. Yeah, in the
Yeah, that's
process.
awesome.
Thank you so much.
What are some common misconceptions about culturally responsive teaching that you encounter?
Oh, man, the biggest misconception is there's never enough time. I'm so busy. I can't do it. What if I say the wrong thing? And the
Hmm.
biggest thing I tell educators is you're going to mess up. That's a human experience. And as teachers, we are lifelong learners too. And I would always welcome if I made a mistake in front of my students to correct me and say, oh, Mrs. Edmunds, we found this. Oh, thank you so much for correcting me, because students need to know that you're also human.
Yep.
And there's always time to infuse things. It can be something so simple. You could do like a Google Translate of languages around the world for a simple greeting to
Yeah.
you greet your students. I had all of these miniature flags of the world, and I had it, strewn across my classroom, and it had matching, flashcards. So we would do like a little scavenger hunt once a week, and kids would pick the flag and they'd look for it in the classroom and stand underneath it. And then another learning tool is they had to share one fact on the back of that flashcard to share about that country. So there's all kinds of things that you can do to be culturally responsive. That's what I say when we're responding to culture. And everybody has a culture, not necessarily nationality. You can have a
Mhm.
culture of quilting or board games that you do with your family every Friday. We love Edmunds Chili Fest, the first home game of the Vikings. My husband and I and our boys, we get all the ingredients and make our spicy chili. So there's
Mhm.
all kinds of things you can do to incorporate culture and cultural responsiveness in your classroom. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So I have a daughter, Cecilia. She just turned 23 and she has disabilities. So I was in
Yes.
special ed her whole
Mm-hmm.
schooling, and a lot of times where we talked about, I mean, we wanted to be included. So you talk about like
Yes.
she had physical therapy and occupational therapy. Like, how can we like just kind of
Yes.
integrate some of those things into like her daily day to day stuff instead of pulling her out? So I kind of what you're talking
Yes.
about the cultural stuff instead of maybe taking lots of time separate, how can you like infuse some things throughout the day where it's just kind of built
Yes.
in instead of, maybe some separate time? So that makes a lot of sense to
Yes.
me.
Yeah. And, even like I had a student that had cerebral palsy,
Yep.
and she was in first grade when I taught. And I worked with her special ed team, and we really did talk to the students that her chair is a part of her body. And we
Right.
talked
Yeah.
about space and, body. Consent as well, so
Hmm.
even with our young primary kids, they
Yep.
understood and they respected that.
Yeah.
And like you said, with your daughter, with occupational therapy and stuff, giving her the time and the space as well to go to
Yeah.
her support system as well, without making it a stop and look. And
Right.
it was part of the routine to,
It's
yep,
part of it.
that's where
Yeah.
she needs to go. And if the teacher came in to infuse her lessons,
Yeah.
that was a special spot in our class that she had the room to move her body in a safe space. So, yeah,
Yeah.
not making it that it was something that wasn't organic, but a part of
Yeah.
our student for her learning the best that she could. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
How open is the northern Minnesota to cultural related stuff?
It is pretty open, and there's
Okay.
still some pushback, where you get in
Hmm.
any environment. We have three universities right in our backyard. And so I always included our international students to come in and do open potluck nights and celebrate nights, celebration nights, and even inviting our families to the university for their festivals and things.
Hmm.
So just keeping that open communication is really big. We would do a lot of student journaling back and forth with notebooks, when
Hmm.
students were working on writing, and would work with a professor on campus in the education department to do kind of a pen pal exchange with those
Yeah.
students. And then we'd have a little gathering where the students would meet the first graders or the fifth graders in the classroom so they can meet the person that they were writing to. And so that was really fun to incorporate your community. That's something that you can do. That is cultural. There's some things that you feel like it could be daunting or extra work, but it takes time to have that plan in place. And as educators, we have our plans, we have our
Mhm.
lessons. So it's just an extra, icing on the cake to incorporate community. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I didn't realize there was that many colleges up there.
Yeah, yeah. We have University of Wisconsin Superior across the bridge,
Oh, okay.
UMD, St.
UMD.
Scholastica, and we
Um,
even have Lake Superior College, which is in the Minnesota State system as
sure.
well. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
What do you like to do in northern Minnesota
Oh,
for
I
fun?
love walking along the lake walk.
Yeah.
Yes, that gets me grounded. We have a family cabin 20 minutes outside of
Okay.
town where I just
Okay.
love reading on the dock and
There you go.
spending family time. And any sport that my kids are in, they played hockey and baseball and basketball. So we're getting back into that this winter. So yeah, that's what I love doing. I love cooking Liberian food. It's good soup weather now, so I love making fufu and soup. And so, yeah, it's just, yeah, family time. Can never have enough of it.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
a year ago we went up to Grand Marais for my partner's birthday. Spent a week up there at a Airbnb and then explored. So yeah, it's beautiful
Yeah.
up there. I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
Grand
just sitting
Marais.
down every morning. I'd go down and sit on the shore of Lake Superior and watch the sunrise, and yeah, it was
Yes.
pretty fun.
Oh, I
It's
love Grand
beautiful.
Marais. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful. And such a quaint town, like you
Yes.
get every access to anything you need, coffee and
Yeah.
great, great. Yeah, great
Yeah, there
restaurant
was a
life.
lot of like different, yeah, like art stores and all. It was.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was that much different. Like a yeah community, different
Yeah.
artsy things and cool stuff to look at.
Yeah, and the shopping. I went there with my
Yeah.
sister-in-law, my mother-in-law, and I got these awesome outfits at a really cool boutique. And
Yep.
yeah, it was fun. Yeah, I would definitely go back again. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. It's
Love
good.
it. Yes.
What role does storytelling play in your work, and especially maybe in your book that you put out? Or,
Yeah, well, oral history has been really the fabric of our people. And I always was, glommed onto stories that my parents would share, like Anansi the spider. And I brought that into my classroom of this mischievous spider that always did things that was tricking people of the land and animals, but he always got a taste of his own medicine. So that's why my students really loved it. Like, oh, what is he getting into
yeah.
now? And stuff. And so they really enjoyed those stories. And for me too, growing up as a child, listening to those stories, and it's like, oh, what is he up to now? So
Hmm.
that infused into my love of learning and learning of other folk tales from around the world that I shared with my students as well. And thinking about those common themes and lessons, because they always had a lesson to share with their listeners. And that's what brought me onto this book. The Orange Blossom is the theme of what's happening and what can you do when you are, brought up with something that is, a pitfall in life, or how do you overcome that? How do you rise above? And that was one of the biggest themes of my story of the Orange Blossom. Yeah, just fictional tale of how do you do it, and would you do it differently or the
Yeah.
same? Yeah, when you meet those characters. Yeah.
I mean, I've heard of the country Liberia. Do you maybe want to briefly just talk about like where it's located and the
Yeah.
history and maybe the reason why your family decided to come to the United States?
Yes, thank you, Aaron. It's was founded by freed Black Americans in the early 1820s. They were sent by the American Colonization Society, and James Monroe, our fifth president, he was one of the architects of um, emigrating, well, bringing back as many African freed slaves as possible. There was a fear that once the slaves were free in our country that they could revolt. So that was the big push to get as many freed slaves back to Africa. And they settled into Liberia and started up that country, became the first republic in Africa in 1847. And so our main language is English. Although we have 16 different ethnic groups, so we do have our 16 different dialects. And basically, in 1980, April 12th, we had a coup, which was the overtaking of our government. There's a small faction of rebels in the army that overtook our government and assassinated our president and members of our cabinet. And so my parents were persecuted, and our family was. And so we fled out of safety. So, yes, thousands of us
Mm.
started that first wave of emigrating to the United States and Europe for a better life. And they left everything they knew. There was a lot of survivor's guilt. They knew a lot of friends that were killed and family that was killed during that conflict. And then, unfortunately, 11 years later, we had our first civil war and more Liberians emigrated. We have the highest, I think, population of Liberian refugees and American citizens in Minnesota
Mm.
because of the families that came into the Midwest in that first wave, like my
Sure.
family, and that familiar,
Yep.
uh, family and ties. And it's a great place to raise a family too, and that was great for us growing up. And so, yeah, that's Liberia in a nutshell. We've overcome so much. We just, had the Ebola epidemic, I want to say about 7 years ago.
Okay.
And now we're thriving and starting to reconstruct and rebuild, of our hardships of our past.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what made your family come to Minnesota? Was there some organization that kind of helped people get
Oh,
here, or how
Aaron,
did
we
that?
came for the weather.
From Africa to Minnesota for the
Oh,
weather?
yeah. They wanted to know
You heard
what a
about
blizzard
snow?
was like. Yeah, yeah. No, no, I joke. No, they came for the opportunity. My father worked for the state of Minnesota
Okay.
in their financial sector, and my mother was a first grade teacher in Minneapolis School District. So
Sure.
that was the biggest thing. Yeah, they went to graduate school in Ohio and Illinois, and their first big opportunity was
Sure.
working for the state, and of course, yeah, in the Minneapolis School District. And so that's how we ended up, yeah, living our lives here in Minnesota. Yeah, and we still get ribbings from our relatives throughout the country. They're down in the South and East
Yep.
Coast, and they're like, "Oh, Minnesota, no, it's too
Yep.
cold. We're not moving there." So
Yeah.
yeah, we still get a good ribbing, but yeah, I joke. Yeah, we came for the weather from Liberia to,
That's fun. Yeah.
blizzards. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that information. I didn't
Oh,
realize
sure.
I didn't
Yeah.
know anything about the history, so I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. If you were there to go visit today, you'd totally see a lot of American
Sure.
influences. The Liberian dollar, we still use the U.S. currency over there. So
Yep.
yeah, yeah, you'll be
Interesting.
you'll be just fine. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
What practical tips do you have for educators looking to create a more inclusive classrooms right now?
Oh, yes. I have 3 C's of cultural competency. Is
Okay.
check, correct, and connect. So checking, like what you did with me this morning, Aaron, was just to ask, how do you pronounce my name? That's checking, that's researching. That's trying to make your students feel like they belong in your classroom. Correcting yourself, if you make a mistake, if somebody is correcting you, don't take offense. They want to see you succeed. Tell them thank you and how you will do the work to do better. I always say Google is free. There's tons of things you can research and correct yourself on things, and connect with families. Always share, positive things about their child. There was a retired teacher that wanted to connect with a refugee from Ghana, and she asked me for some advice. Those are the things you can connect with others in your community, trying to make this, your students feel like they belong. So
Mhm.
check, correct, and connect. So yeah, seek out your community members. They want to help you as well. Hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How has hosting the cultural curriculum chat podcast influenced your own perspective on diversity and inclusion?
Yes, it's influenced so many. We've had people that are living lives of disabled community members. It's opened up my eyes to
Mhm.
see what can I do to make my community members and neighbors feel more welcome. It's helped reach so many people to learn and have those conversations with their kids. And again, infusing more authors of different identities to
Mhm.
come on the show to share their books, so teachers can have access to say, wow, I really enjoyed that author on Jebeh's podcast. Let me order their book and share their work with my students. So to me, it's a great platform and vehicle to be more inclusive of all students. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been great to chat with all of these folks. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I love about my podcast too, just meeting different people with different backgrounds, such as yourself, that I don't
Yes,
know
thank
anything
you.
about, and learning about it, and bringing that to my audience so they can learn too. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'd love to have you on my podcast as
Yeah,
well.
that'd be great.
Yes, we're aligned in so many ways, so I'd love to have you on the show. Yes.
That'd be awesome.
Yes, I'd love
Um,
that, Aaron.
as you were talking, this question came to mind. How are disabilities like viewed in Liberia?
Yes. That's a very good question. I think it depends on the family. There's still
Okay.
a lot of things that they're trying to do to get access. Sometimes it depends on, if you're in a rural part, it could be lack of access to getting, ramps and ways to get access to school buildings and things. So there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. I know that the government is trying to work with other agencies to see, what they can do to get access into the rural parts versus the big city. And that's something I feel like a lot of us, even in our rural areas here, the access to even bus, stops and routes is really hard. So we also have those same type of issues. So yeah, I feel like the lack of access in remote areas is a big issue. But again, families and communicating that and education of what we can do to help support our families that have disabilities is something that's really important. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Mhm.
I've been to Haiti 3 times, and it was interesting. My first time, I was very nervous because I'd heard a lot
Mhm.
of not good things about how they view people with disabilities and treat them, and didn't see a lot of people with disabilities my first trip. So I found a school in the northern part where they, you know, have children with disabilities come to school, which they don't get the opportunity in Haiti. So it was
Yeah.
nice to see that. And I've talked to the owners or the founders and had them on the podcast. And for them, it was they now live in the U.S. because of all the political stuff
Yes.
happening in Haiti. But just
Yes.
the part of Haiti that they I found interesting was that the sense of community. Like they said, they were less worried when they lived in Haiti. Like if something happened to them, people taking care of their child with a
Yes.
disability. But here more there's more like medical services, more via access. It's just that
Mhm.
sense of community and who's gonna
Yes.
take care of my child if something happens to me isn't
Yes.
the same. So that I found it interesting. Like a country like
Yeah.
Haiti that is different than
Yeah.
us in that sense is maybe better. So I
Yeah,
was
and
nice
same,
to
yeah, yeah, and same in Liberia. It's always that communal
mhm,
feel, extended family steps up. We do
right,
it. And yeah, very similar to
sure,
if something were to happen to me, I know my child will
right,
be all right.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
So
That's
I
so
just
true.
found that interesting. Like we're in the U.S. We think everything's way better, and then you're like some stuff isn't. It's interesting.
Yes. Yeah. And also too in our society, it's kind of like, oh, I'm doing my own thing.
Yep,
I'm just closed
for
off in
sure.
some
Yep.
aspects. And it's like, no, we're human. We're community. We're supposed to lift each other up. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it's definitely gotten to that. I mean, I remember
mhm.
I'm old enough. I was born in the '70s. I remember more as a kid. You would know your neighbors more, and have
Yes.
more interaction. And now it's just like I don't really know them. I need to
Yes.
have to
Yeah.
like try harder to get to know them. So it's interesting how it's changed.
Yes. So much so. Yeah. So much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
What advice do you have for aspiring authors or educators who want to make a difference but don't know where to start?
Oh, that's so good. Well, if they are aspiring authors and there's on your heart, definitely research self-publishing versus indie publishing versus
Mhm.
big publishing to kind of know what avenue fits you and aligns with your values. And then another one I would say, if you were thinking about doing a side business or entrepreneurship, definitely reach out to a business coach to kind of walk you through the process because
Sure.
there's ideas and there's great, but then the execution of what the reality is. I was so fortunate to hire a business coach to kind of
Yeah.
let me see, kind of dabble on the side before I went full in to full time entrepreneurship. Really made that leap from teaching full time to entrepreneurship full time much easier because I was able to gradually grow my business and
Okay.
still had the security
Yep.
of that paycheck twice a month. So
Yeah.
yeah,
For
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
That's great. That's great advice.
Mm-hmm.
What is one tip you can share to help the listeners be more inclusive today? So just something anybody can start doing right now to be more inclusive.
Yeah, just a friendly hello.
Right.
See me as that human being shopping, There's nothing to fear if you just make that connection. Like you said, Aaron, with not even knowing your neighbor, just say hi. That's simple, it's free, and you'll be so excited when somebody says hi back. There's so many times where people just look through me or pretend they don't even see me, when trying to run errands. And if I'm trying to make small talk and they kind of, get startled, I'm like, yeah, can you believe the price of cereal nowadays? And, they're like, oh, you're talking to me. It's like, yeah, I'm just saying hi, can you,
Yeah.
oh, yeah. Simple. That's how you can be inclusive. It doesn't have to be this drawn out thinking 10 steps ahead kind of thing. Just saying hello to your neighbor. That's what makes a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. The other day I was at a gas station, just held the door and going out, and people were coming, so I just held the door, and it was just you could just see on that simple thing that I chose to do, like on the face, that just their face lights up. They say thank you, and it's just you don't know, maybe that helped their day turn around, or at least for that
Yeah.
moment they had a smile on their face. So yeah, sometimes it is just the little things that can make a difference.
Yes, to make a big difference, just to feel
Yeah,
seen. Everybody wants to feel seen,
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want to maybe share where the best place is to connect with you?
Yes, you can connect with me on jebehedmunds.com,
Okay.
and that's where you can find my podcasts, YouTube, all the things, blog, lesson plans for teachers. I have over 70 lesson plans, kindergarten through 12th
Sure.
grade, that teachers can purchase right away, download, and use in their classroom. Buy a licensed
Awesome.
classroom teacher. So yeah, and
Awesome.
it's Common Core standard, so any school can use it in the country. Yeah.
Cool. I'll make sure I put links to that in the show notes. Ready for the last
Awesome.
question?
Yes, please.
Do you like spam lunch meat? Yes or no?
Oh yeah, I grew up on Spam. We would fry that stuff with some rice and okra. Oh yeah, that's what got us through. You are not Minnesotan if you have not had Spam.
That might be
Oh
the most
yeah.
energetic. I should like send that to Hormel for like a commercial. That was like the most energetic yes I've ever had.
Oh yeah, we grew up on Spam. What? Yes. Oh yeah, my mom was iconic. She could whip that around raising four kids. Oh yeah, we had some Spam, some Spam. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
live down by Austin, Minnesota, so
Oh
where the spam
yeah.
museum is. So if you have not been to the spam museum, I would highly suggest it. It's a lot of
I
fun.
will
So
check it out. I've been to Austin.
have you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, my girlfriend, she college roommate, she had
okay,
one of her first job interviews was at the Jenny O. Is Jenny O there?
okay.
Yeah. Or
Well,
is
I
it
think
close by?
Hormel bought out Jenny-O, so there's. I mean,
Okay.
I think in the corporate they have stuff that people that run
Yeah.
it and do all that stuff. But yeah,
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so I've been in your town.
have
Yeah,
you?
very neat.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, but I'll check out the Spam Museum. Yeah.
There you go. I mean, it's not as pretty as Duluth or Grand Marais. There's a lot of cornfields and stuff around here to
Oh,
look
yeah.
at. So
Yeah, yeah, but I'll check it out for sure.
yeah. Well, thank
Oh,
you so much for being on the show today.
oh, thank you, Aaron, for having me. I had a
Yeah,
wonderful time.
it was fun. To those listening, thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey. It is truly an honor. Please join the podcast newsletter by clicking on the link in the episode description to keep up with the latest episodes. Together, we can make the world more inclusive. Until next time, stay empowered and be a champion for inclusion.